So this is a theory on Hawk's background, and this is going to be proof that Hawk is Yuhan's son. So basically, in this panel comes after Yuhan dismisses his concubine candidates, which are these people. And so Yon he asks, "Aren't they your wives?" And he says they're concubine candidates. And so the theory is that um, Yuhan, uh, Yuhan, yeah, he did that with them, and so Hawk was born to one of the concubines before he married you. Before he married Yon, he he had sex with one of the concubines, and then that was the like mother to Hawk. And so, the proof, well, not the proof, but the reason this theory is a thing is because Yu Han looks really like Hawk in the last 10 chapters. Because in the recent 10 chapters, he looks really like Hawk, whereas in the earlier the first 20 chapters, he really doesn't look like Hawk. So it makes a lot of people think that maybe Yuhan is Hawk's father, especially since Hawk doesn't have an established backstory. So here I'm going to talk about Hawk's backstory and the predictions of why these predictions I'm going to make are going to be the right ones. Um, okay, so I'm finding the page. Okay, yeah, this is the page. So she decided that um, she decided that she's gonna leave the village that's protecting her, and so she wants Hawk to be her guardian. So she wants him to protect her, and he's like, I can go free now. I don't need to protect you. And then she's like, well, what if I give you money? Will you protect me then? And then I'll just read it out. Do you have any money? If we're going to leave together, then give it to me, or I'll have to protect you then. I'm asking if the you right now can pay me for my abilities in exchange for money. Or perhaps you'll pay with your body. So this is the thing that kills it for me. Perhaps you'll pay with your body. Like, why in the world does he ask this? Like, why would the idea come to your mind? You should pay with your body. I mean, okay, and so here's the theory. He asks Yona if she'll pay him with her body, if she'll exchange if she'll exchange sexual favor for protection. And so basically, my question is, what background does he have that would let him think of this? What background would make this normal for him? And the answer to that is that if he came from a background where the exchange of sex for money was common, then this type of request from him to Yona to pay with her body would be normal. And so then that comes the theory that he was born into a brothel. His mom was a prostitute, and he was born in the brothel. His parent was a prostitute. And so that's the reason why he has the idea to ask someone to pay with their body, because he's familiar with this idea. And hence, and a bonus note is that Yuhon, after marrying Yun he discarded all of his concubine candidates, and so they naturally went back to the brothels, or some of them went back to the brothels. And so maybe that was where Hawk was born. And that's why he wants her to pay with his body. I mean, wants her to pay with her body as like a sexual favor in exchange for protection. And if he was born into a brothel, that also explains his low self-esteem. Well, his low self-esteem appears many times in the manga. And I will just show another part of his low self-esteem. Where are they? Yeah, I think, yeah, I can't find it. But basically, he calls himself a slave. Like here in Yona's perspective, she thinks of him like as a servant because she's the princess, of course. Um, but there's a part where where Hawk calls himself a slave, and so that's where it shows that he has low self-esteem. But I'm kind of missing it. Should be on this panel that I was just at, but I'm blind. Huh. Maybe it was a different translation. But anyways, he has low self-esteem, and that could come from him being born to like born to a prostitute. And so another theory that came into mind is like if Hawk was born into a prostitute, as Johan had a baby with a prostitute who was sent back to the brothels, then what if Hawk went back to the brothels, or something like that? And this idea actually happen in the story. Basically, in the arc where they visit the village or something, where there's the Nadai. There's a scene where the men are going into the brothels for information, and so Lily says, "But three of those men have gone to the red light district, right?" So I'm pretty sure red light district means the brothels, or that type of thing. Yeah. So yeah, I think the implication is they're going to the brothels, and so I'm just skipping to the panels where they are in the brothels, and Jay says, "You're so indifferent, Hawk. It's boring." And that's just so ironic in my eyes. Oh, never mind. I read it wrong. I thought it said innocent, not indifferent. But yeah, he's so indifferent somehow. Like Key just losing his mind over the girl that's like over his shoulder, and Hawk is just like not even swayed at all. And so my explanation is that he's been here before, which he's been at the brothels before, which is why he knows like the women are like there's really nothing about it, and so he's experienced about it, and he doesn't really care. And so the explanation is he's been to the brothel before. But was this has he been to the brothel when he was born, or did he go to the brothel when he was employed by King Il as like the guardian for Yona? And so my explanation is that he was born into the brothels. And then if we go back to the page where if we go back to the page where he asks her, "Will you pay with your body?" and we realize he's familiar with sexual exchange. He's familiar with women in the brothels and with prostitutes. He's not swayed by the prostitutes because he's been here before. And so my explanation is he was born into the brothels and he thinks it's normal to pay people to pay your body in exchange for money or something else. And so this is where we see that Hawk is experienced in brothels. He's not swayed at all, and yeah, I'll just keep looking at this scene. He's like really good at. He notices that she has like some drug on her mouth or something, and so he plays the game basically. And so he's like kind of acting interested. And then J-Hawk's surprised because he knows that Hawk is supposed to be loyal to Yona, and so we know Hawk is just acting here. Like J-Hawk knows Hawk loves Yona, and so he's surprised that he would go behind her back. But in reality, it's just an act. Because once he notices the drugs on her teeth in this Nadai arc with the Nadai drug, he starts playing it differently. And so J-Hawk's surprised. He thinks that, yeah, it's surprising that Hawk would betray Yona. But in reality, it's different. And look, this is Hawk. He's like handling her so well. It's like he's so experienced or something. Like, look at this. What in the world? He's so experienced. Anyways, yeah, so that just proves he's experienced. Yeah, and this is just the next chapter where they're still talking about the red light district or the brothels. So yeah, Hawk definitely went to the brothel here, and he was very experienced, and we've proven he's experienced. He knows how to handle women. He knows what the brothel is about. He knows that the brothel is just like it's nothing really big, and he's totally indifferent to the woman in the brothel compared to Kija, who's entirely innocent, and and he's very embarrassed at the situation. Like here we have three people, three males, and their different reactions. This guy's totally inexperienced. This guy's having fun, kind of experienced, and this guy just is indifferent because he totally knows, he's totally familiar with brothels, and he's not like impressed by it, or he doesn't like it like that. He doesn't like brothels or prostitutes, and so we know he's experienced with brothels. Okay, so we've pretty much proven that Hawk is experienced with like prostitutes or being in brothels. And so I'm saying that he was born into the brothels as his mom was a prostitute who had sex with Yuhan, who later had Hawk as a child. And so that brings into his low self-esteem because he was born to a prostitute, and hence why he calls himself a slave in chapter 1. So we've proven that Yuhan probably had sex with concubines, and then we've proven that Hawk is probably the child of a prostitute. And so I want to say Hawk never himself talks about his backstory, since he doesn't have anything to talk about if his mom really was a prostitute. Like, why would you tell Yona, oh yeah, my mom was a prostitute? Like, really, that's not something you would actually tell anyone. That's not something you would bother telling as a story. And so that's why I think his backstory hasn't been brought up in the manga. And there was a fan book that kind of said that Hawk is an orphan from one of the wars, but I think that was just that was just kind of what the writer of a story tells people to get them to not question something. Like, for instance, in Game of Thrones, after season 6, Jon Snow was killed, and the writers insisted that Jon Snow was dead for sure. But right after season 6, he got revived. So it definitely seems like the writer of a story will intentionally give wrong information to keep the story, to keep like the secrets of the story a secret before it's revealed. And so I think the fan book that said that Hawk is an orphan, that that explanation is not true. He was I think he was, what do you call it? I think he was born to a prostitute. Anyways, there's another interesting comparison. Like, Hawk is clearly experienced and sexual. He's clearly experienced, and a lot of his interactions are kind of like sexual because, he touches Yona or he kisses Yona. That's in sexual ways, and so yeah, it's pretty obviously sexual if you look at all the sexy, not the sexy, but all of the hot scenes, like the hot and warm scenes. But I'll show you another scene I'm gonna compare Hawk's like experience and sexual nature to something else. So the comparison is Hawk's experience and sexualness hmm, uh, to Suwon's innocence. Hmm. I just need to find the panel. Um, okay. I'm getting there. I'm gonna find it eventually. Oh yeah, here's the chapter. Okay, so basically, Suwon came into like the slums to get information, and so Lily asks him, "Why are you mingling here in the back streets?" And she says, "I'll tell General Judo." And Suwon's excuse is that I'm gathering information, and so Lily's like, vulgar information, because he's in like the slums. Like, what type of dirty information are you gathering? And so he's like, no, not that. And she's like, I'm going to ask around. And he tells her, please go back home. And she's like, if it's vulgar information, then I will go home. And so Suwon's like, it's vulgar information. But he's really embarrassed. And so Lily says, he's surprisingly innocent. Like, this scene just shows that Suwon is innocent compared to Hawk, who is experienced and sexual. And sexually, I don't know, like he likes sex. I don't know. Sexual? Yeah, let's just say sexual. Okay, so yeah, we've proven Suwon's innocent. There's even other panels that show Suwon is innocent. Yeah. Yeah, but it's pretty obvious that there's the theme that Suwon is innocent and Hawk is experienced and sexual. And so like this theory video pretty much says that Hawk is Yuhan's child, as Yuhan had sex with a prostitute, and the prostitute was dismissed to the brothels, discarded once Yuhan married Yeonhee, and so the prostitute gave birth to to Hawk in the brothels, and that's why Hawk is very experienced with brothels or prostitutes, and he's very experienced like sexually, and so and so um, that's why he's experienced and asks her to exchange her body for protection, and that's also the source of his low self-esteem, possibly because he was born to a prostitute who compared to someone like Suwon, who was born to like compared to Suwon and Yona, who were born into the royal family. So that's all.